Okay, I think we are live. I think everything's working. Not sure. Going to wait a little bit for everyone to come in. I think there's a little bit of a lag as well, so I'll just be waiting for a second. There are some people online already. I see Leonie and Skazi. I hope I'm saying that right. And Ava. Hi. P. Mario from Spain. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. So I'll just wait for a couple of minutes. I hope you're all doing well. So I was supposed to stream on Tuesday, but I was having some very bad stomach aches that I've been having quite regularly lately, so it's not that great. So I had to postpone to today. So today I'm feeling quite well, and I'm actually really looking forward to trying these out. So have I have them laying around for a couple of weeks. And Iaslav, hey, from Canada, Michelle from Canada, and Amy. So I'm curious if you guys have tried these already. I think they're out for a couple of months now, I'm not sure. I haven't tried them yet. Faber-Castell, they sent them to me. It's really nice of them, these graphite matte pencils, and along with them they sent me the pencils that I usually use, the 9000 ones, and I thought it would be really fun to compare them. And I'm also going to do a little sketch with the matte pencils. So I chose this Golden Eagle. You can see it on screen. And I'm going to sketch that one. I'll see how detailed I can make it. I'm planning to stream for about 1.5 hours if everything works well. It's been a while since I streamed, so I hope the connection is alright. Hi, Vogish Arts. I hope I'm saying that right. From India. Hi, Michelle. Okay, so let's open these. It's really nice. So these ones I already have, so let's put those aside. So this is the box with Pitt pencils, Pitt Graphite Matte. So these pencils are supposed to be matte. Usually when you work with graphite, you get a shine on the paper, and usually that means that you can't have a lot of contrast in your work because that shine is making everything lighter. And these ones are supposed to be matte and also really dark. So we have a range from HB to 14B, and I've never had such dark graphite pencils before, so I'm super excited to try them out. And then also in the pack we have a little blending stump and a sharpener, and then also a kneaded eraser by Faber-Castell. I'll probably use this as well. And also a little booklet with information about Faber-Castell. So really nice. I'm very excited to try these out. Hi Oksana. Hi Marcia. So I hope you're all doing fine. Let me know if the video is okay and if the audio is okay, if you can hear me all right. And then we're getting started. So first I want to just do a little sample and try all these pencils out on a piece of paper to see how they look. And then after that, maybe compare them a little bit to the normal graphite pencils, and then start the sketch of the Golden Eagle. And I just want it to be a relaxed live stream. Also, feel free to ask me your questions if you have any. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Emma. I hope I'm saying that right. Or Emma. So, who of you have already tried these? Let me know in the comments. I'm pretty late, I think, because I've seen quite a lot of reviews already on YouTube. I've not watched any reviews because I want to give my honest opinion. But I know lots of artists have already tried these out. So let's put these aside a little bit. Hi, Beppy. So they also sent me this little sketchbook, really nice black sketchbook with thick paper. It's very nice quality paper. So I will use these, I think, for the sketch. Let's see how these look. It's quite smooth paper, but it has a little bit of texture to it. So I think this will be very nice sketching paper. Okay, so first let's get these next to each other and just try them out. Alright, so not used these yet. I'm just starting out with the HB, putting like medium pressure on the paper and just seeing how dark I can go with these. So this is just for myself. So how is your December going? My December is quite busy. I was planning to do a lot more live streaming, but I just couldn't find the time for it. So I probably won't be live streaming that much anymore this month, maybe next year, but every time I promise I can't make it. So that's 2B. So it goes from HB to 2B to 4B, 6B, 8B. So there's 2 in between. So here we have the 4B now. I'm the most curious about the darkest ones. See if they really get black. 4B is already quite nice and dark. Here we have 6B. So far they feel nice and smooth. No lumps in them yet, just very smooth. This paper is also quite smooth, so it does depend on the paper you're working on. So here we have the 8B. You can already see how dark that one is. Ten B. I'm not trying to push too much. I just use medium pressure and then go over a couple of times. 10B. And then we have 12B. Let's put that one underneath here. Nice and dark and no shine. So that's good. Oksana asks, what's my typical most favorite paper for graphite? Usually I work on Canson 1557. I've been working on that for many years, but it's very normal, regular paper. It's white, very white, and it's 180 grams, and it has a light grain to it. It looks kind of like this paper, like this sketchbook that I got, but it's a little bit more grainy, so it has a little bit more texture to it. So this is the darkest one, it's 14B. You can see that that one is really dark. So let's put them all back now. And then I also want to compare them to the 9000 pencils that I have, the Faber-Castell 9000 that I've been working with for quite a long time. All right, so let's put them back in the right order. All right, so that's the swatches. Then I have these ones. All right, so let's do, I only have 6 of them, so I don't have 12 or 14. So let's do HB. So that's HB right here. You can see that one's darker. I'm actually the most curious about the darkest ones, but let's just swatch them all. This is 2B. They feel a little bit less smooth, I would say. So that's the 9000 pencils, 4B here. The values are more or less the same, I would say. Then 6B. And then 8B, that's the darkest one in this box, but I also have a 9B. Or don't I? I don't. No, the 8B is what I work with. So this one is the darkest one that I usually use. The 8B is a little bit darker than the 8B from the matte range. So this is Faber-Castell 9000 and this is Faber-Castell matte. So see if you can see any difference. So you can definitely see that the 12 and the 14 are a lot darker, but I don't have a 12 and a 14 of the 9000. So far I don't see much difference because I feel that there's not a shine with the 9000 either, or so far there isn't. So let's see if I can darken up my 8B matte and put a lot of pressure on it. See if I can see a difference now. Okay, so now I do see a little bit of a difference. So when I push really hard, I do get a shine on the 8B 9000 and it feels less smooth. And the 8B matte, it feels a lot smoother and it's just a tad darker. And then the 12 and the 14 are definitely a lot darker. So there is a difference, but I would say right now when swatching, the difference is not that big. So, very curious actually how they work when I do a realistic sketch. So I'm going to do that right now, doing it in the same sketchbook. And I picked this Golden Eagle from Pixabay. And I think I will only use so usually I just work with B or 2B for the sketch, and then I like 8B for the slightly darkest values, and then I will also do 14B for the very darkest ones. I think for me that's enough. I don't use all the pencils from the range when I work with graphite, so I think I will stick to these three for now. So 2B, 8B, and 14B, maybe do 6B as well. And then work with these when I do the sketch. Oh, I see. There's a little bit of a connection issue right now. Let's see if I can solve that. I haven't streamed in a long time, so maybe the settings aren't completely right. Let me know if you can still hear me. And in the meantime, I'm going to be sharpening the pencils. I like to work with very sharp pencils, definitely when I do sketches. So here I have my Faber-Castell Color Grip sharpener that I really like. Please drop your observations about shine and matte effects. So yeah, so far I don't see much difference between the two different pencils, but I'm curious to see how they work when I do some real drawing. So I've sharpened them now, so I can work very detailed. Okay, so I'm starting out with 2B. If you feel like drawing along, you can definitely do that. And then I'm just going to start with a little sketch of this golden eagle. So it's not too hard of a subject to do. And it has a lot of different values in it, so I thought this would be a nice one to do as a review sketch. So I like to just map out where I want the top of the head to end, so right here. And then I will be drawing him all the way towards the corner of the paper and the bottom. So I'm just picking the starting point with the 2B, and I use very little pressure, and then I'm just going to follow the basic shapes down, and I try to keep my movements long and flowy. And then I'm going to ignore the beak, so I'm going to draw the forehead down. And then the beak will be somewhere here. And then from the beak down, we have the chin area, and then goes down to the chest in a curvy manner. Something like this. So that's a very basic setup. Make the head a little larger. When I sketch, I hold the pencil quite close to the tip, to the end of the pencil, just so I don't have too much pressure on the paper, and then it's easier to erase any wrong lines later on. And then I just go over my lines a couple of times and adjust the shape here and there. They definitely feel very smooth. Very controllable as well. Scazzy asks, is the Canson Canson 1507 mixed media 224 grams similar to your preferred? I'm not sure. I haven't tried the mixed media version yet, I think. So it might be more grainy, more textured than the one I use, because mine is based or is meant for just drawing, sketching with colored pencil and graphite. Um, so yours might be too rough, but I'm not sure because I haven't tried that one. So if you're looking for an alternative to my Kenson 1557, I think it's good to look for a fine-grained paper. All right. So I keep comparing to my reference as well. I feel like I can make the head a little bit pointier, make the beak come out a little bit more towards the right. Get some more shape in there. All right. Now let's do the beak. So the beak comes out just below the forehead feathers, and then it goes down quite vertically right away. So I try to follow the lines I see. Starting with the top line, and then it curves all around towards the bottom. Quite a sharp point as well. So let's make the point about here, so I can always adjust this. If it looks weird, let's do the bottom line first. So that comes out right above the chin line. No, a little bit earlier, right here. And then we have the bottom of the beak, the bottom half. And then the point from the top half falls over like that. There's a little bit of a curve in there. So I try to sketch quickly, not stick in one area for too long. Maybe make the point a little bit shorter because it's quite long now. And now I can also adjust the basic shape of the beak. I think I made it curve a little bit too far. For these small areas, it's a little bit harder to hold the pencil to the end and keep the pressure light. All right. So let's keep this. And then we have the beak attached to that skin in front of the eye. There aren't any feathers in this area, just skin. And then the actual mouth lining continues all the way to about halfway the eye. And let's continue it to about here. And then we have the bottom of the beak underneath the mouth line right here. And then the same for the top part. Let's look at the comments. I forget to look at the comments. Okay. Hi Maria. Do I understand French? Yes, just a little bit. I can't speak it that well. I can read it just a little. I've had French in school, but I wasn't that good. I was born in France though, but I didn't live there for that long, so I never really learned the language. I really like French though. All right, I'm not going to finish this corner yet because I want to do the eye first. And then I can measure where I want the corner of the mouth to be. All right, so keep looking at the photo. See if the shape of the head still looks all right. Maybe flat it out a little bit more. I feel like I made the face just a little bit too round. Hi, Mihaela. I hope I'm saying that right. From Romania. What kind of pencils do I use? I am working with the Faber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matte pencils, so you can already see it in the title. I'm trying these out to see how they work and if I like them. Have I tried charcoal for drawing? Yes, I've used charcoal quite a lot. Lately, I don't use it that much anymore, but I do enjoy it now and then. Okay, so now I can also compare the size of the beak to the size of the head. I do feel that the beak is quite large at the moment, which is not a bad thing. But I can maybe make the head just a tad larger at the back to balance out the beak more. That's better. And then maybe shorten this curve at the front. So all the wrong lines that I make, I keep on there so I don't erase anything. I save the erasing for the very end. So when I'm done sketching, I erase a little bit. All right, so the eye is somewhere right here. So I look at the starting point. So we have that eyebrow area that is falling over the eye a little bit right here. I draw a line where I want the eyebrow to be. And then the eye is going to be a little bit underneath here. Now I can see if I sketch this right. No, I feel like this has to be a little bit higher up. And then the eye should be, so look at the eye where it is in the head. So it is in the center, but slightly more towards the right. So I think it's right when I put it here. And it's an almond shape, so I sketch that in quickly. Like that. So I do feel that this paper is quite smooth compared to what I'm used to. I like a little bit more textured paper because I feel that these pencils, they glide across quite easily, and I like when my pencils have a little bit more grip. So for super detailed work, I wouldn't use a smooth sketchbook like this. I would go to my Canson. But for a sketch, it's alright. Okay, so now I'm trying to recreate the shape of the eye that I see in the photo. And I can also just adjust the eyebrow shape, curve it a little bit more, and it goes down, make him look a little bit angry. I'm really into drawing birds at the moment. I've drawn a lot of birds. in November as well for Patreon. So you can now do quite a lot of bird projects over on Patreon in color pencil and pastels. Can I do a video about a realistic schnauzer with pastels or colored pencils? I can't promise anything. I've done a lot of dogs already, so I am not planning on doing schnauzer anytime soon. I've just done a terrier, or what was it? A Maltese. And it had similar fur texture to a schnauzer, so when I do another dog, it will probably be something with softer fur. So I can't promise anything. I will keep it in mind. Alright, so I have the eye placed in now. I think it's about right. And now I can see where I want the inner corner of the mouth to end. So it will end about halfway the eye. So I was already quite right. The inner corner, it curves up just a little bit. And then we have the beak curving around. Okay. I think I read your comments. Gigi, I'm not sure how to say your name, but I did answer your question. Okay, so this is my sketch. I still have to fill in the iris. Let's do that. So I'm still working with the 2B pencil. The eye is a little bit too round. And make sure that the iris is round as well. And then we have the pupil, which is round and very large. And it's in the center of the eye, but a little bit more towards the top and towards the right. About there. No, that's a little bit too large. Let's make it a bit smaller. Like that. Nicola asks, have I done an orangutan before? No, I have not. Actually, I have only drawn, I think, one monkey before. I'm not really into drawing apes and monkeys because I feel like they look like humans too much, and I'm really not into drawing humans. Is that weird? I'm just a lot more into animals that don't look like people. But an orangutan, I think it's very challenging to draw that type of hair or coat. So it will be very challenging to draw, I think. Maybe I should draw one sometime. So we have a large highlight in the center of the pupil that I'm also going to draw out because I'm going to work around it like that. And then finally we can do some more details in the beak before I start erasing. So we have this orange part and then this more like gray part. Let's sketch that out. And then the nostril is in the orange part right here. It's like an almond shape as well. Something like that. then I can maybe draw some more of the feathers sticking out from the head, give the head a bit more shape. And then after that, the sketch is done, then I can start with the erasing and then the detailing as well. So we have the cheek feathers. So the feathers around the eye are very short and quite flat. Then the more you go towards the neck, the longer and rougher they get. So I'm sketching out that edge a little bit of the face. And then that's my sketch. I always like to move on to the coloring quickly and not linger on with the sketch for too long, because when you do the coloring or the shading, you always adjust things as well. So now I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and erase all the lines that I don't want in there. And then I'm left with a really nice clean sketch. So I just kneaded to a little point and lightly go around my sketch like this. So I'm already noticing that the sketchbook is so smooth and the lines are a little bit harder to erase because of that. But so far the pencils have been working very nice. Okay. Let's look at the comments. Do I stream every day? No. You can have a look at my channel to see when I last streamed. I think I streamed about 2 or 3 months ago. I did a couple of streams every week, but now I don't really have a schedule. So I just stream when I feel like it, and then I try to do one normal video every week, but I don't really manage that. Because it's been really, really busy. I quite like this sketch. It looks alright. Also the eye area, I try to lighten up everything as well, so I just go over and tap and lighten up all my sketch lines because I don't want a dark outlining around my drawing because that's going to look quite cartoonish. So eventually I want everything to be shades and shadows and not lines. So I want my sketch so light that I can barely see it. So if you have a question or a comment, please only just do one instead of commenting lots of different things at once. Elissa LTV. Otherwise, you're spamming the comments a little bit, so feel free to ask your questions, but also make sure to not spam the comments. Actually, I'm going to be drawing a mouse this month. I've planned a mouse in the snow in colored pencil for this month for Patreon. So I've not drawn a mouse before, but now I'm going to draw one. Alright, so now the sketch is really nice and light, and that's a good starting point to do some detailing. So I like to start with the eye always. So now I'm going to pick, let's do quite a dark one already. Let's do 8B. And now I'm going to outline the eye again, but more detailed. So I'm going to look at the photo, look at the shapes, and make sure that the shapes are correct. Very smooth pencils. So now I do hold the pencil closer to the tip so that I have a little bit more control and more pressure. We have the eyebrow area overlapping the eye. And then I can also sketch out the iris like that. Whoops. Concentrating. And then I can also sketch out the pupil one more time. I really have to concentrate to make sure that these lines are good, not too wobbly. Okay. So I'm going to try to not make this sketch too detailed because I don't really have time for that. But I do want to try out all the different values in the drawing. Make sure that it looks nice and expressive as well. Now I can fill in all the dark areas in the eyes. So still with the 8B, I'm going to lightly fill in this outer corner and also the inner corner. So the 8B is not the darkest value yet, so I think I'm going to go over later and then darken up even more, but I'm starting out a little bit lighter so that I have space for darkening up. Hey, Wicked Illusion! Long time no see! I really want a cat as well. My fish is also nice, but she doesn't need my attention that much. Going around the highlights. So this eye area, it does need a little bit more attention because I don't want it to look blurry. I want it to look nice and tight. So taking my time for that. So this is the base and I can always darken up the pupil by going over with the 14B. So far no shine yet, so that's good. Then I also have a blending stump that I can use to do some basic shading in the iris. I'm going to continue with the 8B. I like to work with soft pencils also for lighter areas. And then I just use lighter pressure to do a base layer. So I use a very light pressure and color in the iris lightly. You can definitely see that the iris is lighter than these inner and outer corners, but especially at the top, there's a dark shadow caused by the eyebrow overlapping. So I'm going over once again and darkening up that area. And then I can go over with the blending stump to smooth that out. Don't need a lot of that. So you can see that the eye still lacks contrast now. So now I can go in with the 14B. So I'm too lazy to use the whole range of pencils, so I'm just going to use the most dark ones, I think. So switching to the 14, and the pupil needs some darkening. So now I can see how dark I can go with this pencil. Going around the highlight very tightly. So we want that highlight to stay very white. Going over a couple of times. So that is nice and black. That looks quite good. I'm going to use it below the eyebrow as well. Darken up a little bit below the eyebrow to darken up the shadow. And also I'm going to darken up the outer corner of the eye, around the iris. So there's definitely a very big difference between the 8B and the 14B. And there's no shine. I'm really enjoying this one. So I think the 14B, the darkest one, is my favorite from the range. I think I can also use these in combination with my 9000 ones. And then I'm not going to do too much to the eye because I want this to be a sketch and not a very detailed piece. So what I'm going to do now is just do some wiggling in the iris and create some little textures like this. With the 14B still, but very little pressure. And then I'm going to call the eye finished so that I can move on to the beak area. Let's look at the comments. Thank you, Dee. Draw Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I'm really not into humans and not into cartoons or movie figures, so I'm probably not going to do that. I'm a wildlife artist. Alright, so that's the eye. Then I can also maybe do a little bit of blending around the iris just to smooth out the edges of it. And then you can always go in with an eraser like the Tombow Mono Zero eraser to pull out some highlights in the iris again on the edges. That always looks nice. Okay, so that's the eye. Moving on to the beak now. And we can see that orange part, yellow-orange part is quite light. Then the tip of the beak is darker again. I think I want to start with that tip point. So let's do the 8B again. I'm going to sketch out the beak again. So I'm using my sketch lines as a guide. Now I'm going to look more closely at the reference and follow the shapes of it. And outline the tip of the beak quite dark. All the way towards that yellow orangey part. Concentrating. the mouth line. And then the mouth line, it gets quite light. So I'm releasing my pressure in the lighter parts, then hyping up the pressure in the darker areas. I hope I can fit this sketch in 1.5 hours. I'm already going way too slow. Okay, and then also the nostril. We have some dark areas in there as well. I'm just trying to recreate what I see. And then filling that in a little. And then we have some feathers overlapping the beak, so I'm just going to draw some of these lines, little feathers overlapping. So noticing that these pencils, they glide across the paper just so well. I can draw super tiny little lines with them. Let's also darken up the top line of the head. Give him some more shape. Draw the feathers sticking out from the forehead parts and then gliding across the forehead. So we want a very streamlined motion. And then the larger feathers sticking out from the left. I'm already streaming for an hour, so I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. I hope I'm not going too fast for those who are drawing along. Of course, this stream will stay online, so you can draw it another time if it's too fast right now. Mapping out the more important shades and shapes. Still with my 8B. Just to move a little bit faster. Really love to draw birds. Okay, so that's better. So now you can see the shape a little bit better. Okay, look at the comments. How long does it take to make such a sketch? So it does depend. I tend to sketch quite slowly, but a rough sketch, it usually takes me about 2 hours. It does depend on which material I'm working with. Colored pencil is very slow, but pastels are faster. But I think this one will take me about 2 hours. So I might just finish this one in another stream. Not sure, because I feel it's a shame to rush it, because I quite like how the sketch turned out. So I might just fill it in roughly tonight and then make it super detailed in another stream. But for now, let's continue with the beak. So I still work with the 8B. I've outlined it quite dark, so now I have to make sure that the shading here is just as dark as the outline. Otherwise, you get a dark line around your drawing, which also looks nice, but then it's more like a cartoon, and I don't want that. So eventually all these lines, they are going to disappear, And I'm now looking at where I see the darkest shapes and shades in the beak section. So that's mainly here on the edge, on the right edge and the tip. Really love the smoothness of these pencils. So that is quite a difference compared to the 9000. Those are a little bit rougher. These are very smooth. I don't even need much blending at all. Alright, so not going super dark yet. Going a little bit lighter than what I eventually want the beak to be. Then I have room left to do darkening and lightening. When I push too hard right away, it will be hard to erase any details. So I'm looking at the basic values and go just a tad lighter. So we see this tip here, this shape in it, that is dark. And then it becomes lighter. The more you go inwards, working with small circular motions. Cross hatching a little bit. So I'm just looking, mapping out where do I see the darkest parts. And then building up as I go. The bottom of the beak is a little lighter, but I do want some dark shading at the very bottom to create the 3D effect. Then I'm releasing the pressure as I go up. So if you want more of these live lessons, definitely have a look on my Patreon. There's a link in the description. I have loads of these live lessons, mainly in colored pencil and pastels, but also some good, very long graphite ones, and also some basic ones. So I have something for every level. So if you think this is too fast, or if you want more lessons, you can have a look on there. All right. So that's the base. Then we still have that orangey part. I'm going to do that super lightly. So for that, I would switch to, let's do 2B, just to make things a little bit easier for myself. And give that a little bit of shade because this is just super light, so I don't want this to be too dark. There are also some very bright highlights here. I'm going to work around those. So let me know if you want to just see this one as a quick sketch in this stream, or if you'd like to see this completed in another stream and that I do it more detailed, so that it's not just a sketch but more detailed drawing. Alright, so that's the base of the beak. It still lacks contrast, but first I'm going over with the blending stump just a little bit, so with very light pressure to smooth everything out. And then I can start adding the details and the contrast. Going over the rest of the beak as well. All right. Going over the mouth line as well, so I don't want this line to be just a line. I want it to be more like a shade. So let's blur that out just a little, like that. Okay, so let's see if I need any erasing at the moment. I don't think so. I think I just should go in with my 14B and add some good dark contrast now. That will look really nice, I think. So let's do the 14B, and I'm going to be darkening up that tip of the beak, definitely. Adding quite a lot of pressure. Darkening up the mouth line here. And copying the darkest shapes. I really love this 14B. I'm going to be using this one a lot, I think. Okay, so that tip is very dark. And then we see some lines, some grooves. Let's give the beak a little bit more texture so that it doesn't look completely smooth. That's better. Oh, I missed a lot of comments. Okay, let's look at those. The Dutch comments I'm going to translate so everyone understand. So do I transfer the reference photo to black and white before I start sketching, or do I work from the colored reference? So I never transfer my reference to black and white because I can already see values very well when they're colored. But when you're having trouble seeing values, it might be a really good thing to just transfer your colored picture into a black and white one. Then it might be way easier to see your values. But myself, I don't do that. Sometimes it's also super interesting to turn your drawing into black and white. So if you've done a color drawing, you can edit it black and white in GIMP or Photoshop, and then you can also see if your drawing, if it looks alright or if it lacks contrast, if your darks are dark enough. Alright. Can you show on camera the number of the pencil you're using? So yeah, so I can't put it on screen right now, but I'm currently using the 14B. And for this drawing, I'm only using 8B, 2B, and 14B. I haven't used the 6B yet, and I'm probably not going to use it. So I only use these three at the moment, 2B, 8B, and 14B. And I'm mentioning it when I switch to another one. All right, so I think I'm not going to rush this drawing because it's a shame, I think, to rush it. So if I don't manage to finish it before 9 o'clock, so for me that's another half an hour, I will just make another stream of it, I think. Okay, so at this moment I don't want to do too much blending anymore because I like the slightly rough look to it. I'm just adding some lines, some texture. So this yellow area, let's keep that nice and simple. And then when I'm going to be drawing the feathers around it, the feathers are very dark. So then this part, this yellow part, it will stand out more. Right now it looks a little bit flat, but that's because the rest is not in yet. Okay, so I see a little bit of highlighting here on the beak. So I use the Tombow and just pull out a little bit of highlights, make the beak shiny. So as long as you work with light pressure, it will be quite easy to do this. And then I see that the rest around can be darkened up a little more, so then I go back to the 8B and go over. Okay, so for now I'm going to leave the beak like this. And I'm going to move on to the forehead area. So we have this very white skin in between the eye and the beak. And I'm going to leave that right now. So I'm going to first do all the dark feathers. And then after that, it's way easier to fill in this light part because you can then judge the values a lot better. So let's move on to the feathers now, which is going to be really nice and fun to do. So I'm sticking with the 8B for now. And first, I'm going to map out the direction of the feathers. So I'm starting above the beak, leaving a little space open for the white part. And the feathers are very nice and flat and smooth here. They're not too long either. So I'm just going to be drawing these lines with a little bit of space in between. I'm going to make them cross as well, indicating that these are feathers. And it's very important to make sure that they go in the right direction, that they fold over the eye nicely. And then we have that eyebrow area, which is very dark, but there are also some lighter patches above that, so I need to leave those open. Now I'm really going to look. And the further you go back, the longer the feathers get. So there I can extend my lines. Very dark shade here next to the eye. So let's fill that in. Yeah, so this paper, it is definitely too smooth for me because I feel like I don't have much control on this sketchbook. So for my next drawing with these pencils, I would go back to my normal Canson paper because it has more grip. Okay. All right, so I will do another stream, I think, if I can't finish this tonight. So I'm just going to do the setup and then make it super detailed in the next. I can't promise when though, maybe Tuesday, if I'm feeling alright. Okay, so I'm just overlapping these lines, following the direction. Not worrying too much about all the individual feathers yet. This is just the setup. Okay, and then we have the long one sticking out, so let's stop right here and finish this top part first. So my first layer is lighter than what I want the feathers to be eventually. It's way easier to start lighter and then darken up than start too dark and then not being able to erase anymore. Okay. So that is all right, just for my first layer. Then I'm going to take the stump, the blending stump, and go over super smoothly. Very light pressure, because I don't want to smudge out all the lines I drew. I still want some texture there. But by using the blending stump, you can speed up the process a little, make sure that every area has a base layer, so no white anymore. You can still see the lines. Some are darker and some are a little lighter. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to leave this and move on to the bottom. So underneath the eye, going to skip the white parts in between the eye and the beak and start somewhere halfway below the eye. You can see that the feathers, they grow from the eyelid and then curve around the eye. So basically the same as when you draw a cat or a dog. The fur grows in the same way as the feathers go in this case. So they go around and then go up, and then they come together with the top flow of the feathers. I'm still drawing those lines. So the feathers here, they're even shorter and fluffier than the top ones. I'm keeping that in mind, that I don't draw lines that are too harsh. There are some really light patches in between as well. So I'm still working with the 8B, using light pressure. You can see the edge of these fluffy light feathers here. And then you can see the transition into the longer ones. So marking that edge right here. And then continuing. I actually wanted this to be more like a chat, but I'm so invested in drawing that I forget to talk about other things and look at the comments. So let's look at the comments. Hi, ASMR Drawing. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining. Right now, the Netherlands is in another lockdown. Not sure if that's the case where you live as well, but right now everything's closed after 5 p.m. So we are inside again, which is a shame. It's very annoying. So I'm looking at these dark patches, trying to recreate those, and then leaving open all the lighter areas that I see. I need to finish this eyelid part as well. It's still quite empty, but I think I'm going to save that for the next stream for the detailed part. Just looking at the darks and the lights. Alright, so this is good for now. Let's do this area underneath the chin that is quite dark overall. So I can use a little bit more pressure. Still, with the 8B, feathers here are very short, so I'm going to shorten my lines here. But I'm still creating that hairy texture by leaving some open spaces in between my lines, making some lines darker and some a little bit lighter, so variation in the strokes you make to create some texture right away. Okay, then we see this very prominent lighter parts, and then below that there's a darker part. And then here on the chest, the feathers are getting super dark. Trying to not push too much because I still want to go over with some other values, so I don't want to saturate the paper just yet. So you can see a little bit of difference in value. You can see that this part is darker than the top of the head, but it's still too light. So I'm starting off way lighter than the end result is going to be. Okay. Following the curve of the chest, going down, and then towards the bottom, super dark feathers. Starting to rush a little bit, so I feel like I have to quit soon and then continue next week. Really like the sketch though. It's very relaxing. Okay, so here on the left we have these neck feathers that are very long, and you can see these super dark shapes in between them. So this is a little bit trickier because we have to work around the feathers and fill in the darker shapes in between them. So you can draw out each an individual feather. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. Maybe though. Maybe I should. Yeah, I think I'm going to spend a little bit more time on sketching out the feathers here. Noticing that I can draw tight and detailed lines with these pencils for quite a long time. I don't have to sharpen often, which is nice. Okay, so we have these really dark shadows in between the feathers, and then some of these lighter ones sticking out again. Making sure that they are quite random, that they're overlapping each other. Otherwise, it might look a little bit stiff. And the more you go down, the larger these feathers get. So if I would be doing this with colored pencil, it would take me hours, lots of hours. Graphite is a little faster, but still, if I want to do this super detailed, it's going to take me some hours anyway. It's also a challenge to make sure that the feathers look natural. So I want every feather to be different from the one next to it. Otherwise, it's going to be looking very stiff. So it's also a challenge when you're sketching everything yourself. Okay, so I'm going to continue sketching these out and then call it a night. And then I will plan another stream for next week to finish this. Then it will probably look way nicer when it's done. Right now it still looks a little bit rough. So I'm still working with the 8B. Super dark shadow here below the face. Let's have a look at the comments. Thank you, Hanneke. Thank you, Galaxy. Yeah, so the soft blending, it's mainly because of the paper, I feel, and also these pencils, they feel really smooth. They feel smoother than the Faber-Castell 9000 pencils that I usually work with. And this paper is also smoother than my usual paper. For me, it's a little bit too smooth. I like texture in my drawing, but it does give a really nice effect though. So for doing quick sketches, it works quite fast. I quite like it. Thank you, Synapses Art. That's a really nice compliment. So of course this stream is going to stay online, so if you want to draw this one with me, you can. Feel free to draw along with any pencil you have. You don't have to have these graphite matte pencils. You can do this with normal graphite pencils as well. There's not a huge difference. The only difference is that the 14B and the 12B, they are a lot darker than what I'm used to, and they're not shiny. So the 12B and the 14B, I will add those to my pencil range and then probably use those a lot. I'm not sure if you can buy these separately though, or if you can only buy the box of 11. If I would buy these separately, I would just go for the 12 and the 14B. Okay, so the more down you go, the larger these gaps in between the feathers get. So next week I will make these parts really, really dark, and then the lighter feathers will pop forward. So right now it just looks really weird because it's not colored in yet, but it will look nice eventually. Trying to not lose track. Have some really large gaps here. Super dark sections right here at the bottom. Can already fill those in. Oh, you can buy them open stock. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so if you already have normal graphite pencils and you don't have the budget to buy the whole pack of Pitt mats, I would say just go for the darkest ones because you're going to probably use those the most. All right. So that is the setup. Looking very rough. So let's see. Let's finish this as well. And then I'm going over with the blending stump just one time, smooth everything out, and then that will be a good setup to continue with next week. Right now everything looks a little bit flat still. There's not enough contrast in the drawing yet, but I will sort that out next week on Tuesday, I think. So I will create another live stream for Tuesday, same time. And I will be finishing this. So far, so good. I really like the pencils. I love the fact that there's no shine. So on camera, they perform really well. They're definitely a good addition for the YouTubers, the YouTube artists, and the teachers who film their work because they perform way better on camera than the other graphite pencils do. Because usually the shine or the camera doesn't really capture the graphite pencils well because of the shine. So this looks quite nice. A little bit rushed at the bottom. I'll sort that out. And I think I'm going to end it here. Let's go through the comments. Mm, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, feel free to draw along if you have time. You can do the sketch with me. The photo is from Pixabay, so you can use it, no problem. I'm going to erase any smudges that I made. Do I do commissions in black and white as well, black and white drawings? So I have done a lot of commissions in graphite, but right now I don't do them anymore. I stopped taking commissions a while ago. I just focus on teaching. So I do make graphite drawings for Patreon now and then, but right now colored pencil and pastels are my main focus. But I must say, graphite is also really, really fun to work with, and it's a lot faster. So I might be getting back into graphite a little bit more. Okay, if there aren't any last questions, I will call it a day and then finish it next week. So thank you so much for watching. I think I will give my end review about the pencils in the next live stream. But I hope you like this one. I like the progress of this sketch. It looks quite accurate from what I can see now when comparing it to the reference, so I like that. It's always good to do freehand sketching because it helps so well with learning to observe. Even if you find it difficult, it's really good to practice. You can find more of these over on Patreon, sketching lessons, but also colored pencil and pastel lessons, very detailed and long ones, also shorter and basic ones for beginners. So if you're interested in following more of my lessons, you can have a look at the link in the description. And also on my website, you can find an overview of all the lessons I currently have available. So there's also a link to that in the description, I think. And then I will see you next week. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you then.